We're in the aftermath of a tragic episode that's causing a lot of pain, affliction to David HaMelech. We see his inactivity to family episodes that are happening that are terrible, but maybe his inactivity is that he's accepting the din, the judgment, and he sees that this is what the decree is from the prophet Natan. And now in a second episode, Avshalom kills 3 years after the raping of Tamar by Amnon. Avshalom has Amnon killed, flees for 3 years, no activity of David regarding this terrible event. And at the end of the chapter we read yesterday, we'll read it again, the last pasuk, the Tanakh says, Vatichal David HaMelech Latzeit El Avshalom Kinicham al Amnon Kimet. Remember that Avshalom had political asylum by the place of the roots of where his mother comes from, because his mother was an Eshet Yefator. And now it seems that David is no longer mad at Avshalom, and rather he has a longing. Vatechal David, the Targum said, v'chamedat, from the word lachmod, to utterly desire. Okay? Someone who's chamud, he very much desires him. It seems that David now is desiring Mr. Avshalom to come back. Is it true or not? Well, when we read the beginning of this chapter, Vayedad Yoav ben Tzuruya, Ki leva melech al Avshalom, and then we read about a tactic or a strategy that Yoav is doing from far away. And let's begin to explain. Yoav senses national responsibility. How can we prove that? On the one hand, he knows that's as if David is what? His heart is longing to see his son Avshalom. That's lichora how the end of the last chapter is. However, here it says Kilev HaMelech al Avshalom. Is Kilev HaMelech al Avshalom exactly or similar to the end of the last chapter? Well, the Radak, Rabbi Nodava ben Kimchi, says that this is the case. In other words, one of two meanings will be that the heart of David HaMelech, it says HaMelech, not even the father, is on his son. By nature, you love your son. And for that, well, if that's the case, well, why doesn't David HaMelech invite him over? We don't see that. There's a lack of activity. We're asking why. And therefore, maybe to answer the question, there is a second meaning to Leiv HaMelech al Avshalom. And the Malbim brings this. Leiv HaMelech al. We often see this preposition al. I know it means on, but it often means against. We see in the Parsha several times. We got in Koch Tanaviram. Ken, thank you very much for your water, David. The Malbim says that the king still has anger on Avshalom. Well, if Mr. Yosef was angry at me, would this be the time to confront him and talk to him about me? If someone's angry at you, is that the best time to talk? The opposite. Chazal say, Ein meratzim et ha'adam b'shat ka'aso. It's even in Mishnah Pirkei Avot. Ein meratzim et ha'adam b'shat ka'aso. We don't go to appease, satisfy someone at the time he's angry. Leratzot, to get his ratzon. Leratzot. No, leratzot is to appease him too. Okay. So the Malbim says here at the beginning of the chapter, even though we thought that David is no longer angry at his son Avshalom and he wants to bring him back, there's a difference between less anger and bringing him back. He's not being brought back. Yoav sees this. The Malbim says, what does it mean? Kilev HaMelech al Avshalom, the beginning of the chapter, is that he still has anger on him. And therefore, it's not a time to directly confront David in order to bring back Avshalom. Why? Bishat Kaso. So here It could be, it says ki leiv hamelech. Now, I don't want to talk here on Hasidic terms, but it's brought in the holy books that who has to be the king over who? The leiv over the sechel, or the sechel over the leiv. The rosh has to be on top. The intellect has to be on top. Nachon David. The intellect has to make the decisions and overcome the emotions. Here it says, Ki leiv hamelech al Avshalom. The leiv is referring to the Abba side of David. Heart, emotions, love. Who doesn't love his son? Everyone loves their own son, even if the son is not doing the right things. Like who? Avshalom. But he's the melech. The melech, what ability does he have to do? He can require kingly punishment. And that's how he has to run the country. So it could be that inside David HaMelech are two different approaches here. To give his son Chanina, pardoning, and that'll be from the side of the Leiv, or act as a Melech, and a Melech should even provide punishment where Sanhedrin, the court, cannot. Let's just go back, flashback. Avshalom had Amnon killed. Halachically, in the Beit Din of capital punishment of Israel, can Avshalom be tried to death for killing Amnon? What's missing?
Yeah, with forewarning. There were a lot of witnesses, but there was no forewarning.
He probably has hired.
Think again, if you remember what we learned last chapter, and tell me, there's just something a little missing to try to prosecute Avshalom for the killing of Amnon. What is missing? Just something small.
Avshalom didn't do it himself.
Beautiful.
He sent the others.
One little thing missing. Avshalom didn't kill him. Who killed Amnon? He earned the servants. Now, can they say, whoa, 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 our boss told us to do it? What do Chazal say when your boss tells you to do a shlichut, which is an avera, which is a transgression? Remember the language of the Gemara. Divrei Talmid v'divrei Arav. Divrei Mishomim. You heard of this?
We just learned
right? Divrei Talmid. You have the words of a Talmud. The Talmud tells you to do this, but the rabbi says otherwise. Who do you listen to? You listen to the Rav. Who's the rabbi here? Hashem. He says, don't murder. But Avshalom, the Talmud of the Rav of Hashem, says, do murder. You can't say, well, I had to listen to Avshalom. So if we go back, it sounds a bit humorous. There's just something missing as far as Sanhedrin is concerned to put Avshalom to death for Dinei Nefashot. And that is, he didn't kill him. You're all right that in addition, there's no warning. And there's no, I don't know if they're witnesses or not.
Everybody saw that they killed him.
You're right. Everyone did see. You're right. The brothers did see. So maybe there's testimony. However, maybe he didn't mean it. What is the purpose of warnings? Anyone remember the Gemara says in Masechet Makot? Lo nitna hatra ela kedei lavchin ben shogeg lemezid. Hatra, a warning was given so you can distinguish between shogeg and mezid, if it was intentional or not. Your question.
A king tells you to do something, but you do it because if not, the king will kill you.
Oh, so here, Ki Leiv HaMelech, the opening pasuk. The Leiv is saying, I'm the father, let me give him Chanina, pardoning. HaMelech, there has to be law and order. There can't be anarchy like the Rosh Yeshiva told us in the last year. From his point of view, he should put Avshalom to death. He took the law into his own hands and killed him. So right now, who is observing this an activity? How's the parak opening up? Yoav. Yoav, we know, the nephew, although he's the nephew of David, at the same time, Yoav is taking national responsibility here. Yoav, we're about to learn this trick, this not conspiracy, but this show. He's going to take a very wise woman, and she's going to be not only wise, but dramatic in the way she presents her personal problem, issue, ordeal before David HaMelech. And it sounds like the same case where the prophet came to David and David gave the psak din, the codification. But let's first just talk about Yoav. And then I want to mention something about Avshalom. The Bechor, the firstborn, was killed, Amnon. Yoav knows the family has to get together. The family of David has to be collected together. They're torn into pieces. One daughter was raped. One son was assassinated. The other son fled the country for 3 years. Chevra, let's get together. The situation is really bad. Who will be the Yoresh Etzer? Who will be the inheritor to David when he passes away? Avshalom stands up. B'makom she'ein ish hishtadel liot ish. Another Mishnah Pirkei Avot. When there's no man there, you make an effort, try to be a man. Man meaning taking responsibility. Avshalom is apparently looking and saying we need national responsibility. We have to get this family together because we're going to need. Look, how are the people observing David right now as well? What happened in the family? Avshalom is away, he's not back. Maybe David's heart is to give him pardoning. Maybe David's kingly laws should put him to death or something. He's not doing neither this or that. Now, why does Yoav want to bring Avshalom back? He sees in Avshalom, he's not just, I don't know how you're interpreting what type of image, character he is, but Avshalom is a very holy Jew. Don't think that, he's someone went off the derech. He took off his kippah, doesn't wear tzitzit anymore, doesn't pray, doesn't do that. No. Ask me how I know.
It says in the beginning, the great race up against me.
Oh, very nice. I opened up Mesechet Nazir, Daf Dalid Amud Bet.
How do you know when he was a Nazir?
Chazal tell us. We'll learn later. He got caught up with his hair.
Yeah, right.
Avshalom is so holy, is that he took upon himself a neder, a vow, to be a Nazir forever for the rest of the life. Tanya, the Braita of the Gemara says Nazir, page 4, side 2. Rabbi Omer, that's Rabbi Yudan Nasi, Avshalom Nazir Olamaya. He was a Nazir forever. Shenemar, he brings a pasuk, of course, from us, the next chapter, Tedvav. Vayim miketz 40 shana, vayomer Avshalom el hamelech, elchana vashalem nidri, asher nadarti ladunai bechevron. He took a neder in Hebron to become a Nazir. And someone that is a Nazir Olam is allowed to shave once every 12 months. This is the Braita. The Rambam brings it in the Mishnah Torah, Shulchan Aruch also probably, in the laws of Nazir. And if he's a Nazir Olam, that means, wow, he refrains from drinking wine. He doesn't become defiled to the dead. Okay? No, wines, all wine matters that come from wine. So Avshalom is Aleph, a powerful personality. We saw the shrewdness. We saw the way he conspired how to have Amnon killed. He's smart, he's shrewd. He thinks halachically his brother should have been put to death. And maybe he's the next one in royalty. Maybe he's thinking that he's acting halachically well. That my father is incapable, he's incapacitated. Maybe because he's going through this affliction, this punishment. of what he did wrong vis-a-vis how he took Bathsheba, and now I have to act. Maybe Avshalom's thinking from a halachic, national way. Action has to be taken against Amnon. He just can't commit rape without paying the crime. So we're dealing here with someone who is a well-calculated person, thinks that justice of Torah has to be taken, and we see that, by the way, we don't know it yet, but Chazal tell us that he is a Nazir, and not just a Nazir. He didn't take upon himself to be Nazir for 30 days, or 60 days, for the rest of his life. And it's called Nazir Olam. And you know what? There's a lot, but we don't have the time to see it. And there are a lot of key words that appear by Yosef. There's an opinion in Chazal that Yosef also was a Nazir. Yosef was Tzaddik. He was playing with his hair and this and that. And we can see several similarities that the Dumut, the image of Avshalom, is like the leadership capabilities like Yosef. So we're dealing with someone who's powerful, who's strong. Yoav sees that in him. Yoav says, I got to find a way. But I can't go to David right now because he's going through a dilemma, David. To act with his slave, pardon, as a father, or to act as a melech and give him national punishment. No activity. Yoav comes into place and now tries to see what he can do to bring him. Who does he bring? Let's read. Vayishlach Yoav tiko'ah. Vayikach misham isha chachama. Vayomer eleha. Hit'abelina. Velifshina vigdei evel. Ve'al tasuchi shemen. Vayit ki'isha ze yamim rabim. Mitabelet al meit. Although we know Tekoa is a town in Yehuda, just south of Beit Lechem, 8 kilometers south of Beit Lechem. However, there's an opinion that we're not talking about that because the area of Tekoa is desert area. And it says here, Tasuchi shemen, do not smear on your skin oil. She comes from an area which has a lot of oil. Which area do we know in Israel geographically is blessed with oil? We see it in the blessings of Yaakov. Asher, the northern tribe of Asher. Okay, there we see Tovel Bashemen Raglo will immerse his feet in oil. Okay, and we're talking about the Galilee city of Tekoa. There's an upper Galilee city called the Tekoa Galilee. No, not the Golan. I'm talking about the upper Galil next to Kiryat Shmona, perhaps the area of Asher, which is an area of olive trees. Today, we have a lot of in the Galilee, a lot of Atzei Zayit, also run by our non-Jewish friends. Who grows them? Who knows? Which ethnic group lives up north and they're growing a lot of oil? No, the Druzim. The Druzim in those areas. There are also Arab areas as well. This is an area flooded with Shemen Zayit. You should know that Shemen, Atzei Zayit, requires a mountain area of cool weather in the winter, dry in the summer. It's unlikely, although there is an opinion that it's Tekoa, where Rabbi Weinberg lives, and Rabbi Weinstein. Now, what does olive oil signify or symbolic of?
Royalty.
Royalty. What else?
The menorah, the Kohen.
Wisdom. Oil, Shemen Zayit, is symbolic of wisdom.
Israel.
And therefore, Mr. Yoav, who is the chief of staff of the Israeli army, he goes far up north and he looks for a woman who, I'm adding, is very dramatic, but very wise, and she'll be able to put on a show, present a dilemma a moral, ethical dilemma before the king that will mirror the exact situation here vis-a-vis David and Avshalom. Let's read it. The instructions are given. Act as a woman in mourning. Wear clothing of mourning. Don't, put oil over your skin to look really so good looking. No makeup, thank you. And you'll be looking like a woman that's what? Been mourning over her dead for a while. All these details, you think he's like a drama director, Mr. Yoav. All this further, Pasuk Gimel, Uvat el hamelech v'dibarte elav kadavar zeh. The key, just a little, thank you. That's it, thank you, sir. Instructions in Pasuk Gimel are given clearly to her, what she should say, how she should answer the king. Okay? The king, she's going to travel from the north to Yerushalayim and speak to David, Hamelech. Uvat el hamelech v'dibarte elav kadavar zeh. She's fed the instructions, what to say, how to retaliate, and so on. Vayasem Yoav et hadvarim b'fiyah. Like you would say today on a Broadway show, the script is written. She is being told, and she's a wise woman, and she's coming now. Pasuk Dalet, she arrives in Yerushalayim, and let's see what type of impression, deep impression, she makes on the king. Pasuk Dalet, you following? Vatomer Aishat ko'it el hamelech, vatipol ala peh arza, vatishtachu. Vatomer Hoshia Melech. Notice Vatomer appears twice. She, in her initial meeting, what is she doing? She's making a very strong impression. Why? She throws herself on the floor. She bows down, and she starts appealing, raising her voice, "Save me! May the king save me!" Okay? In other words, why doesn't she appear face to face? She's hiding. She can't be 100% actress, then she could be 90% and disguise herself. She flattens herself on the floor. She's in terrible distress, and she has a tremendous problem. Okay? She's showing that she's in great pain. And maybe that's the reason why she falls on her face. Some of the commentaries say to disguise her face. Now I want you to know and notice which noun she uses time after time. Vayomer lahamelech malach, vatomer aval isha almana ani, vayamot ishi. And we go on reading. This is the third time she calls Hamelech. Think about it. We're going to go on right now. But here, the king asks, well, what's going on? What's your story? Malach, what are your claims? And what does she say? Aval, meaning truthfully, I'm a woman of tzarot. Number one, I'm an almana. I'm a widow. What happened? My husband died on me. Okay? Number three, Pasuk Vav, Uleshivchatcha, I'm ready. I'm submitting myself. I am your maidservant. Shnei vanim, I have two boys. Vayinatzu shneim basadeh. They're striving, they're fighting, they're fighting, quarreling where there's no solution. Where? In the field. How many people in the field watching? No one. No witnesses here. Okay? And what happens? Ve'ein matzil b'neihem. There's no one there. There's no one there to stop the rift. There's no one there to warn. There's no one there to break it up. And what happened? Vayako ha'echad et ha'echad, vayamet oto. One brother killed the other brother. We clearly see the parallel developing in front of our eyes. Avshalom and Amnon. Okay? One killed the other, but the way she's putting it, Vayako ha'echad et echad vayamet eto, that out of defense, so to speak, one is killing the other, and, because he's killing the other is trying to protect himself. There are three things that the commentators say that are parallel here. Number one, Avshalom killed Amnon, and there was no forewarning. There was no one there to be warning. It could be that really the brothers were in the area, but they didn't see exactly what happened. They heard. We didn't see, in fact, that it said that the brothers, the sons of the king, were watching the murder happening. No. So maybe this is the parallel. Yoav heard the news that Avshalom's servants killed Amnon without people next to him. That's parallel number one. Parallel number two, okay? Had David did judgment to Amnon for the raping, then nothing would have happened here. Nothing would have happened. But here there's no one to stop, to do judgment. There's no one here to prosecute. And third, Amnon, as if he hit his brother Avshalom. How did he hit him? Amnon, as if hit Avshalom by raping Tamar. Here too. One is hitting the other, and the other is defending. In other words, in this parallel, it's as if Avshalom is defending his sister. Okay? Now, what has happened ever since this happened? Pasuk Zayin. V'inei kama chol ha'mishpacha al shivchatecha. You should know. The family, the uncles, the aunts, they're all coming up against me, about you, about your servant, I'm your servant. Vatomru, and what did Vayomru, what are they saying? Hand him over. Tniyat makeh achiv unmiteu b'nefesh achiv esharag. Judgment has to be done. The family, what do you call the family of someone that was killed? Right. What is the term? Goel Adam. Right? The Torah, when it talks about murder, and we talk about the laws of an Ir Miklat, a city of refuge, the Torah actually understands that if family members want to run after the murderer, in their heated anger, they can do it and even kill the murderer. Unless he arrives to, not Switzerland, where? Ir Miklat, to a city of refuge, that's a neutral territory. He cannot be touched there. How many Arei Miklat do we have?
42 plus 6.
36.
Slowly. First we have 3 on this side, 3 on the other side of the Jordan. And the Gemara says in Menachem Makot that the 42 cities of Leviim, in addition, can act as an Ir Miklat to protect the murderer upon his arrival. But the 6 are used for like sentencing him to be living amongst the holy Leviim, like we mentioned in our Parsha Shiur today. So here the family is demanding from the widow, hand him over. Why? Because he deserves death. V'nashmida gam et hayoresh. Here, everyone wants me to hand him over. Meaning, the uncles want to kill this nephew for murdering his brother, and you know what? They want justice to be done. They want the murderer to be brought. All of this case, Yoav put in the mouth of this Tekoa woman. What does she say at the end of the pasuk in Zayin? V'chibu et gachalti asher nishara. If they kill my what? My son, they're going to extinguish my coal that's left. My coals, meaning my son that's still alive, my only son that's still alive. Levilti simli ishi shemu sherit al pnei adama. If he's killed, there's no name left. There's no residual left over for the family. This is clearly a what? A parallel that if Avshalom will be put to death, the family has ended. No one to inherit the kingdom. In other words, Yoav understands that the potential king, who's righteous in his opinion, is Avshalom. Amnon is not, because the Bechor was taken, that's what he thinks. Avshalom has leadership qualities. Avshalom is a go-getter. Avshalom is taking national responsibility as well by killing Amnon. That's what Yoav thinks. And now, Yoav wants to put the pressure on David that he should pardon not allow. Now, not allow which law? Who can put Avshalom to death and why? Hamelech. Because there's no witnesses, there's no forewarning, and certainly we said something else is missing. Avshalom didn't kill. Just something little missing, not a lot. A lot is missing. However, it would be in the hand of Hamelech. And therefore we notice, I learned this from the Rav in the Golan, Hamelech is used. You have to act as a king and give a pardon. You have the right to give chanina. You can pardon people for what's happening here. Okay? What does this king respond with? David is not mentioned. The father is not mentioned. Hamelech, Pasuk Chet, verse 8. Vayomer Hamelech Elisha, lechi leveitech, go home. Vani atzaveh alayich. What does that sound like? You go home and I'll take care of the matter. I'll command. What? Sketchy. It's like God be coming to my office and asking me, and I tell him, don't worry, I'll take care of it. He knows I'm not taking care of it. Right? Right? Could that be the interpretation of the Tekoa woman, that she's not happy with this response? Why? Because the king said, Ani atzaveh alayich. I will command upon you. Look at the response of her. Vatomer Aisha, she says in Pasuk 9, Vatomer Aisha tekoit el hamelech. Again, hamelech. You have the ability to pardon. You have the ability, just like you can punish unlawfully, you can also pardon. You can give a pardoning. Vatomer Aisha tekoit el hamelech. Alai Adoni hamelech ha'avon val beit avi. V'hamelech v'kiso naki. What is she saying? Why is she saying upon me is the sin? She's really talking in what we call Sagi Nahor. She's talking in opposite language. Do you know, for instance, Rav Yosef in the Gemara, he was a blind person. What was he nicknamed in the Gemara? Sagi Nahor. He's full of light. It's a euphemism. Okay? He's called, he's full of light, but he's blind. He cannot see physically. He can see spiritually, intellectually. She wants to honor the king. She doesn't want to say it's going to be on your chest, it's going to be on your problem. She's acting like a euphemism. She's saying a lie. In honor of the king, she's saying, the way you're speaking, it's not going to help. What are you, chasing me out of here? You're going to take care of it? You're not going to take care of it. In the meantime, until you take care of it, what might happen to my son? He might be killed. So that's how she's talking politely. And she's saying, it's your problem, which is it's my problem, but it's really your problem. If you're the king, you have to act right now. Under pressure, the king strengthens her words. Vayomer Hamelech, Hamidaber Elayich, the one that's speaking with you that wants to kill your son. Vaveito Elai, bring him to me. Velo Yosef Od Lagadpach. Here, the king right now is strengthening her position. The point before is, he wanted to make a promise to her, says, I'm going to take care of it. She was skeptic, and now he's strengthening his words. He's giving her the responsibility right now. Bring him. Okay? Bring the Baldin, the one that's litigating against you. Bring him to me. And he's threatening to kill your son. I'm going to take care of him. So we're going to stop here. Continue this B'ezrat Hashem in our next shiur.